Breaking down the Vikings from the perspective of a former NFL General Manager of the Year. It's Jeff Diamond's Purple Report. Presented by your select Minnesota Buick GMC dealers.
Welcome to Jeff Diamond's Purple Report, brought to you every Monday and Thursday during the Viking season by your select Minnesota Buick GMC dealers in the 2025 GMC Sierra 1500 on 1500 ESPN, available 24/7 on YouTube via link from the Score North website. I'm Jeff Diamond, former Vikings GM, former Tennessee Titans president. Our producer is AJ Frederickson, does a great job after a big win in London, getting all of our clips together and producing the show. And AJ, first of all, we're going to have a little time off, as the Vikings will, because it's the bye week coming up. So we will have no show this Thursday or next Monday, but then we will rejoin our show next Thursday, a week from Thursday, when we preview the Vikings and the Super Bowl champion Eagles, which should be an exciting game at US Bank Stadium. The fans will be cranked up after that exciting win yesterday when the Vikings pulled it out on the final drive, 30 seconds left, the big touchdown pass, Carson Wentz to Jordan Addison. And I got to say, AJ, I wasn't feeling real confident when the Vikings got the ball with 3:05 remaining, 80 yards ahead, down 3, although they only needed probably 40 or 50 yards to get in Will Reichard's range, but he'd already missed a field goal. And yeah, it just didn't feel like they were going to pull this one off when they had 4 backup offensive linemen in the game at that point. But you've got to say kudos to, first of all, Carson Wentz was phenomenal on the final drive, 9 of 9 for 71 yards, including huge completions to Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison. Kevin O'Connell for his creative play calling, getting the ball out of Wentz's hand, and even going back to early in the game, and we're gonna hear some of those highlights. It's a great call with Cam Akers on the Wildcat pass, and the defense had some big stops in the fourth quarter after being a little bit leaky early in the game, facing a rookie quarterback in Dylan Gabriel. But as I said, AJ, I wasn't feeling great about their chances when they got the ball with 3:05 left. How are you feeling?
Yeah, well, and I'm sure myself, similar to other Vikings fans, you hear all week, this person gets added to the injury report. This person, all of a sudden, it's like, all right, Jim from, Bemidji is going to be flying over to London. He'll be on the offensive line. Josh Oliver is maybe a backup guard for the offensive line this week. But you wake up for an 8:30 kickoff in London. You kind of watch the first 3 quarters. And to your point, like it was bleak. It was like, well, they're going to get the ball. This isn't even a coin toss in my mind. It's like, you got to get heads almost 3 times in a row. That's the probability there. But then it's like, okay, we're going to get one pass. Oh, wow. Yeah. Wow. That was right where it needed to be. Now they're marching. Now they're getting out of bounds. How are they going to do this? And then I think once they got into red zone territory, and we're going to go through it obviously, but there was that pass that we'll talk about that hits Justin Jefferson kind of right in the perfect spot where it's like, now I believe. Now I believe that Carson Wentz can do it. And especially after a first quarter where Jordan Addison didn't get a snap, essentially for disciplinary reasons, for missing a walkthrough earlier in the week.
Definitely.
They call his number. KOC says, we're going to give it to the problem child. And he gets in the end zone to cash in a big win, a much needed win. Now you're heading into the bye week 3-2. And if you would have told me after all these injuries, they're still going to be above 500 going into the bye week, it's unfortunate with a loss to the Falcons. But I really think that this is a team that coming out, if they can get a little healthier, Jeff, it's going to be a good rest of the season.
Yeah, definitely. And they do need to get healthy. You talk about the offensive line, and Brian Kelly now is on IR, but Blake Brandel, have to really salute him for an excellent game. He did have a holding penalty that nullified a long pass to Jalen Naylor, but overall he played really well. No miscues in the center quarterback exchange. First time he's ever played center in an NFL game, or maybe any game. So you start with Brandel, then you say Joe Huber, undrafted player, and he held up pretty well. Justin School, we've kind of beat up a little this year. He's had some difficulties, and he was matched up on Myles Garrett. According to Next Gen Stats, he had 14 matchups individually, didn't give up a pressure to Myles Garrett, probably the best defensive end in the league, or one of the top. And on the last touchdown pass to Addison, he did have help. He and Huber double teamed Garrett and gave Wentz just enough time to get rid of the ball. But again, perfect throw. And then all of a sudden, Walter Rouse is in at right tackle because they have Christian Darrisaw on a snap count. Now, I'm going to say this, AJ. If you're going to put Christian Darrisaw on a snap count, take him out in the second quarter and bring him back in the fourth quarter when the game's on the line, and especially on the last drive. Now, maybe they thought he wouldn't be warmed up at that point, but put him on the bike on a bicycle on the sidelines or something.
Yeah,
stationary bike. I mean, they needed him in that game at the end. So that was scary. And I'm sure for Carson it was too, but what a gutsy performance by him. What a great game. The fact that he was willing to put up the 50-50 balls to Justin Jefferson, and it may have taken a couple weeks to do so. McCarthy was a little apprehensive in doing that. You've got to go to Justin on those kind of plays. And the 21-yard gain that kind of set up that last drive, that was just a phenomenal, perfect throw by Wentz and a great play by Jefferson against an all-pro Pro Bowl corner in Denzel Ward. And I also salute Kevin O'Connell for his creative play calling in this game. A lot of misdirection running plays. They did enough running the ball, 97 yards rushing, to at least establish somewhat of a rushing attack against the number one run defense. And then O'Connell calls the great play, as we talked about, to Akers and the quick passing game to Wentz, getting the ball out of his hands. And let's just address this right now, AJ. There's going to be a lot of scuttlebutt going into the Eagles game. Is J.J. McCarthy ready to come back? Should he get his starting job back? I say no. Not yet. Not yet. To me, Carson Wentz played so well, especially on that last drive. He deserves the start against the Eagles, the team that drafted him number 2 overall back in 2016. He should get that start. I assume you probably agree.
I'm a little on the fence. I think I would have to see and be confirmed that he is 100% healthy, because the Eagles, they just lost this past weekend. So they're obviously going to be burning off some of that angst next week. But then the following, it's like, well, we want to get back to winning ways, get back to starting that momentum all over again. It's going to be a tough battle. And then you have a quicker turnaround. I want to say it's against the Chargers on a Thursday night game.
Yeah, exactly. Very tough.
Who now we just learned are going to be without rookie Omarion Hampton. He just got placed on the IR here within the past 30 or so minutes. So that looks like more of a landing spot for me for a JJ McCarthy return, but only if, to your point, Carson Wentz, maybe the pumpkin or the chariot turns back into a pumpkin for Cinderella against the Eagles, and maybe things go a little south.
Yeah, we'll see. And I think that Wentz I'm sure he's going to get the start, should get the start against the Eagles. And then you see how he plays going into that Charger game. The interesting thing is that 4-game stretch that we've talked about, the gauntlet that they were going to have after the international games. And by the way, they are 5-0 in London now, even if they lost in Dublin. But the gauntlet was going to be Philadelphia. They lose to Denver on yesterday. And then the Chargers, they get beat by Washington. And their offensive line is all beat up. As you said, they lost Hampton. They can't protect Herbert.
And Joe Alt, I believe, will still be out by that game.
Yeah, and all of a sudden that game may be more gettable. And then they go to Detroit. Ooh, the Lions are rolling. We know that.
Yeah.
But you never know. It's a division game. And the Vikings have played the Lions tough, even if they've gotten beat about 5 in a row. And then we were talking about, well, then they got the Ravens. The Ravens are awful right now. They got hammered on Sunday. And so it's just kind of a crazy turn of events with what's happening around the NFL with some of these teams. And as I said, when Baltimore gets beat 44-10 by Houston, no Lamar Jackson in that game, which obviously is a huge factor. So my point is, the schedule may not be as formidable as we thought, and the Eagles are having trouble running the ball. Jalen Hurts got sacked 6 times. The Vikings are here, not in Philly. So we'll see. But let's go to some of our audio highlights here.
Yeah.
And then we're going to hear from the coach and we're going to hear from a couple players. First, here's that great play. Cam Akers on the trick play, cool play, 32-yard touchdown pass to Josh Oliver. Get the Vikings on the board in the first quarter, tie the game.
Gain of 20. This is Cam Akers. He throws wide open. Touchdown, Josh Oliver.
And I mean, is there any contention, Jeff, for him to maybe get some QB reps here moving forward?
I think he's the emergency quarterback, or at least he was. So we'll see. But he threw a nice ball, and Justin Jefferson throws a nice ball too, by the way.
Yes.
Dylan Gabriel was pretty impressive as a rookie quarterback in his first start. He did fine, 2 touchdown passes, had a couple overthrows, but here was a nice touchdown pass to David Njoku.
And it's split out wide to the left on third down. To the end zone, it is caught. Njoku for a Cleveland Browns touchdown.
And Dylan Gabriel, first game as a starter, first of his NFL career, but Jeff, like going against a Brian Flores defense, he looked a little more capable than I think you would have expected him to be. Brian Flores feast on those young, inexperienced quarterbacks. So from your former GMing days, do you think that based off one game you could say he's got a future in the NFL, or is this maybe just a placeholder till either a Flacco or maybe Shedeur or Sanders gets a nod?
I kind of liked Dylan Gabriel. I thought he showed a lot of poise, a little bit of mobility, escapability. Harrison Smith made a big tackle on him, or he would have picked up a really key first down in the second quarter. And I thought he threw the ball well and found the tight ends, was finding the backs out of the backfield. I made some good throws. Jerry Jeudy drops a ball that could have been a big play for them that KOC challenged successfully. So I think there are a lot of good things by Dylan Gabriel, and Quinshawn Judkins was very impressive as a rookie running back. I think this Browns team may be on the rise, especially once they get out of the salary cap jail that they've been in because of the Deshaun Watson disaster signing.
Yeah.
And it may be another year before that happens to get out of that, but having a rookie quarterback helps, and he definitely played better than Flacco was playing earlier this year. The Vikings, I mentioned the run defense, is something that has to improve. Judkins had 110 yards rushing. The Browns ran for 140 in the game. And we mentioned before the injured players that they need back. Blake Cashman, really important in run defense and pass defense. Andrew Van Ginkel, can't underestimate his importance as an edge defender in the run. Dallas Turner's has some issues, but even Harrison Smith has been playing limited snaps, at less than half of the snaps, and they need him as a full-time player, and they hope that'll be the case after the bye. Theo Jackson missing too many tackles. Even Josh Metellus, Ivan Pace missing tackles. They've got to be better in the run game.
Absolutely.
And Philly, is going to come in here and want to pound the rock with Saquon Barkley. They've struggled this year running the ball. They were second in the league last year, 25th this year, only have 45 yards rushing on Sunday against Denver. And they only gave Barkley the ball 6 times for 30 yards. That's crazy.
Yeah, their offense is a conundrum because they have a workhorse running back that you're talking about, but they also have 2 very talented wide receivers that for some reason they just don't want to get the ball to.
Yeah, it's been a little bit shaky there. So the Eagles play the Giants this Thursday, so they'll have a mini bye before they face the Vikings. But they see how Atlanta ran the ball, how Pittsburgh and Cleveland were successful running the ball. The Vikings can get Cashman back by then, and hopefully Van Ginkel too, which will help in that regard. But they definitely have to stop the run. Running the ball, as I said, the Vikings were okay running the ball, better than expected, 97 yards rushing, but they did have the 2 costly fumbles. Jordan Mason had a fumble killing a drive in the first quarter, and here was one by Xavier Scott that I thought might have been the killer in the game in the fourth quarter.
Stadiums and how they look in the open air, it's gorgeous. Fumble! Ball came loose on the handoff to Scott. And the Browns have recovered.
And that's just some of the workplace hazards you're going to have when you're missing one of your starting running backs. And Aaron Jones, you're going to have to call on Xavier Scott maybe a little more often than you probably would want to. And that's the type of result. I mean, not that he is not a capable running back, but at this stage, you want the very best. And with Aaron Jones out, you're going to have to go to the next man up. I think he has, especially in camp, he was showing that he has some explosive tendency here at times to find a hole, break off a run. But when he gets limited chances in a game, you want to see him make the most of it. And this was kind of the opposite.
Yeah, definitely. And as we said, I agree with you. Aaron Jones, they still need him in the pass game and the run game. And hopefully his hamstring will be better and that he'll be able to come off IR in the next couple weeks. I don't thought he may not be eligible until the Charger game, but we'll see how that plays out. And those two fumbles, the Vikings 2 straight weeks now have lost a turnover battle 2-0. No takeaways the last 2 weeks for a team that led the NFL last year. That's something that's got to change in the turnover ratio. The Vikings now -2 for the year. They were +12, which ranked third in the league last year. So certainly that was a big part of their success last year in regular season, not necessarily the last 2 games, but we know how that turned out. As we talked about the great final drive, Carson Wentz, perfect 9 for 9. And here was his beautiful back shoulder throw to Justin Jefferson, beating Denzel Ward.
Hawkinson went right underneath where he was.
Gain of 15, his 6th catch today, and now Jefferson able to make the catch, matched up with Denzel Ward. Another Vikings first down.
And then a 3rd and 4 completion to Addison, which was a really clutch play by Wentz on a really quick release called by O'Connell. And then the winning touchdown, a perfect throw, terrific throw by Wentz over Ward before the safety could get there. Addison adjusts his route, and Jordan goes from the doghouse to the penthouse after missing the first quarter because he missed a walkthrough. And I'll say this, AJ, I wouldn't keep my second best receiver out of the game for that. I'd fine him, maybe keep him out for one series, not the whole first quarter. But anyways,
it's a fun conversation to have.
He wanted to make a point, but that point could have cost them seriously. But then again, here's the game winner.
Make one of these game-changing plays.
Wentz, 2nd and 5. Addison, he's got it. Touchdown.
And it's a fun conversation to have. Like, oh, they won the game and they kept them out for disciplinary stuff. If they lose the game, Jeff, we're thinking, what a boneheaded decision to keep your second best wide receiver out. So I'm glad it worked out, but I think the 2 things here is Jordan, show up to walkthroughs, and 2, let's just play our good players.
Exactly.
And from the post-game presser and comments that I saw from him, he very much sounded like a man who just maybe was out minutes after canceling a trip to Vegas or something like that. Yeah, I'm just going to stick around with JJ and throw around in the training facility. Oh yeah, I'm guessing you plan to stay here around the bye week.
Yeah, exactly. Good idea, Jordan. And before we hear from the coach and a couple players, let's talk about our great sponsor, the Select Minnesota Buick GMC dealers. GMC trucks weren't built overnight. Like every American achievement, they are a result of dedication to mastering the art of design and the science of engineering to building upon prior knowledge year after year, decade after decade. GMC, over 100 years dedicated to the art of engineering and the ambition to always move this country forward. We are professional grade, well-qualified buyers get 0% APR on 2025 GMC Sierra 1500 crew cab models with a 5.3-liter engine with an average finance savings of $4,322 plus $1,500 bonus cash. That's a total value over $5,800 plus no monthly payments until next year. See your Select Minnesota Buick GMC dealer today. Length of contract limited, deferred monthly payments for 120 days. Must finance with GM Financial. Down payment required at signing if applicable. Finance charges accrue from data financing. Some customers will not qualify. Savings based on bank rate of 5.64%, not available with lease and some other offers. Take new retail delivery by 11/3/25. Here's the coach in the locker room and a very celebratory head coach.
All right, you don't win a game like that unless you are a very, very connected football team. There were moments where if you weren't, it would fracture. There were moments where if you weren't all in, no matter what the previous play was like, no matter who had to step into the game, it was just next play, regardless of offense, defense, and special teams. And I'm so proud of it, because what you proved today can last an entire season. All right, it can last an entire season to have that feeling. All right, that feeling. And when you got pushed up against the wall, nobody flinched. Because there wasn't 1 second today where I didn't think we were being on that relentless pursuit of going 1-0, regardless of what it looked like. There's 1,000 things we could all do better. But the best news is we are at the bye. All right, we got the 1-0 that we so desperately, relentlessly needed. All right, give it up for yourselves real quick. Family on three. Family on three. 1, 2, 3. Family.
Justin Jefferson talking post-game about a really very important win, and there's no doubt it was. To be 3-2 instead of 2-3 at the bye, definitely critical.
Oh, very important. We always think 1-0 for the week. But having been in Europe for 2 weeks pretty much, and losing last week in Ireland, a dub was a must. We couldn't go home on that plane 0-2. So just the relentlessness and just the fight that we continue to do throughout the season. But today, for us to, with that adversity, being here for 10 days and a lot of, complaints that could happen and a lot of point fingers and a lot of blaming other things. But I felt like this team didn't flinch at all. Of course, the adversity throughout the game and, of course, the bad plays, the good plays. But we continue to fight and we continue to, move forward. And definitely a big shout out to the O-line, just with their adversity and their difficulty having to switch positions and moving everybody around, new people being in the game. So that definitely helped tremendously.
I think, as Justin mentioned about the offensive line, and we already talked about Blake Brandel, the great job he did at center, other than the one holding penalty. And I think he deserves to be the starter now that Ryan Kelly's on IR. I think that Brandel should hold that job over Michael Juergens, the second-year player. I think that would be the smart move on their part now that he's shown he can handle it. And, yeah, Joe Huber did a nice job. School, but they do need to get Brian O'Neill back. They do need to get Donovan Jackson back, and both those players should be back for the Eagles game. But I think the value and the benefit is that these backup players have shown that they can perform in a big game, an important game, and that is going to give the coaches and the players confidence if they have to go into a game, if a player gets nicked or whatever happens. And with Kelly now out for at least 4 games, and who knows with that concussion how long. So I think that is maybe really the hidden value of what happened with that offensive line in this game. And so that will be interesting. We've talked about penalties in the past. That's still a problem. They had 7 in the game, 6 in the first half. It was better in the second half. Fortunately for the Vikings, the Browns were worse. They had 10 in the game, and a lot of them extended drives. Ryan Wright, 77-yard punt in this game. Will Reichard missed a field goal, and a lot of people projecting on social media that he may have hit a wire, which is kind of a crazy assumption, but who knows? International games, strange things happen. And I haven't heard anybody confirm. I haven't heard anybody confirm that yet, but
yeah. There was a video that it's a little grainy, but it takes such a weird kick to the left that, if they review that a little bit more, I think during the game, they probably let him go for a re-kick because it did awfully look like it caught one of the Sky Spider Cam wires en route to the field goal.
Yeah, that the people in London didn't know where to put. It should have been behind the goalpost. Yeah. So kind of crazy how things can happen. We'll see about that. But Carson Wentz, before we hear from Carson, let's hear again from our great sponsor, the Select Minnesota Buick GMC dealers.
GMC trucks weren't built overnight. Like every American achievement, they are a result of dedication. A dedication to mastering the art of design and the science of engineering. To building upon prior knowledge, year after year, decade after decade. GMC, over 100 years dedicated to the art of engineering and the ambition to always move this country forward. We are professional grade. Well-qualified buyers get 0% APR on 2025 GMC Sierra 1500 Crew Cab models with a 5.3-liter engine with an average finance savings of $4,322 plus $1,500 bonus cash. That's a total value over $5,800 plus no monthly payments until next year. See your local GMC dealer today. Length of contract limited. Deferred monthly payments for 120 days. Excludes residents of Pennsylvania. Must finance with GM Financial. Down payment required at signing if applicable. Finance charges accrue from data financing. Some customers will not qualify. Savings based on bank rate of 5.64%. Not available with lease and some other offers. Take new retail delivery by 11/3/25.
The Vikings tight ends were great in this game. And when we talk about the offensive linemen, they got help from Hawkinson and Oliver with chipping on Garrett and some of the other players, as we said. So that's an important factor. And they were big in the passing game, too. TJ Hawkinson, 6 catches for 38 yards. Josh Oliver had the touchdown catch, 2 for 35. And then, of course, Justin Jefferson, huge game, 7 catches, 123 yards, a bunch of 50-50 balls, and got to keep giving him those opportunities because he will make those plays. And so certainly a lot of stars that were in this game and a lot of role players, too, that made big impacts for a game that looked bleak at times for the Vikings against a team that they really had to beat. Let's hear from Carson Wentz. Had a terrific game, I thought, overall, and didn't turn it over. And obviously, huge final drive, 9 of 9 for 71 yards and the touchdown. And he was talking about Jordan Addison and also about his offensive line.
Yeah, first of all, he's a stud. Justin Jefferson is as good as it gets and gets all the recognition, but Jordan Addison has been nothing but a baller since I've seen him live, these last couple of weeks. And, it was one of those, it's just a simple route, simple concept, but he saw the coverage and converted his route, and the ball had to come out. I wasn't going to take a sack in that situation given where we are on the field, so I just tried to put it high and give him a chance, and he made a heck of a play.
What do you think of the offensive line today?
I'm so proud of those guys. I mean, for guys to do what they did today, in a unique week over here all week, we were down coming into the game. We were down a handful of guys. Blake Brindle starting first game at center. Joe Huber starting for the first time ever. Justin School starting at right tackle, then flipping to left tackle against arguably, one of the best defensive ends in the world. Those things are not easy to do. And for them to keep fighting, keep battling, guys made mistakes. That happens. I made mistakes. But the way they battled and kept fighting, I'm so proud of those guys.
Yeah, quite the game for the offensive line as a whole, as we said. And,
Oh, yeah.
And so as we look ahead to after the bye, the Philadelphia Eagles come to town. As I said, should be a great atmosphere. The Eagles coming off that loss on Sunday to Denver. So they're no longer unbeaten. They'll have a Thursday night game with the Giants. No unbeaten teams left in the NFL. Buffalo got beat last night by New England.
How about Drake May?
Drake May was terrific in that game. You can see why the Vikings liked him a lot.
Yes.
On his rollouts and just all the different throws he was making in that game. Stephon Diggs, super impressive game. 10 catches, 146 yards. May throws for 273, no turnovers against Buffalo, and they knock off Josh Allen and company. All of a sudden make that AFC East a race. And you're talking about a New England team that won 4 games last year. Now they're 3-2. Mike Vrabel doing a terrific job there. As I mentioned, Detroit, 37-24 over Cincinnati. The Packers and the Lions and the Bears were on their bye this week. Detroit at Kansas City on Sunday night, while the Vikings are on their bye. That's the big game of the week, and the Vikings will be hoping the Chiefs rise up and knock off the Lions. And then Green Bay hosts Cincinnati. The Bengals are reeling. And the Bears are at Washington on Monday night, which I don't expect them to do very well in that outing.
No.
And a couple other interesting games around the league. As we mentioned before, Baltimore gets drilled by Houston. The Tampa Bay Seattle game, really exciting game. Sam Darnold throws for 341 and 4 touchdowns, and then he throws a ball off somebody's helmet, and it gets intercepted, which sets up the winning field goal for Tampa Bay. So,
how about a jersey matchup there? That was just a gorgeous game to look at.
Yeah, it was. And Baker Mayfield having an MVP type season, definitely outstanding. So as I mentioned earlier, we will be back with you a week from Thursday. No show this Thursday or next Monday with the bye week, but we'll be back a week from Thursday before the October 19th big game against the defending Super Bowl champion Eagles at US Bank Stadium. This has been Jeff Diamond's Purple Report, brought to you every Monday and Thursday during the Viking season by your select Minnesota Buick GMC dealers and the 2025 GMC Sierra 1500 on 1500 ESPN, available 24/7 on YouTube via link from the Score North website. This is Jeff Diamond with AJ Fredrickson. Everybody have a good bye week, and we will talk to you in about 9 or 10 days as we prepare for Vikings and Eagles on October 19th.